She's going like from Toronto to Ottawa.
It's 6 o'clock. We're going to call this meeting to order. First of all, we'd like to begin by acknowledging that the land on which we gather is the traditional and unceded territory of the Algonquin Nation. Now I'd ask everyone to stand for the national anthem. Great. Our first motion is to approve the agenda. I have a motion moved by Lynn Clegg, seconded by Bill Everett, that the agenda for the regular meeting of council to be held on April 22nd, 2025 be approved as, are there any amendments, Kathy?
No, there are not, Madam Mayor.
So as presented. All those in favor? Carried. Is there any disclosure of pecuniary interest or general nature thereof of any item on tonight's agenda by any member of council? Seeing none, we'll note that in the minutes. Approval of the minutes, moved by Duncan McGregor, seconded by Susan Irwin, that the minutes of the regular council meeting held on April 8th, 2025 be approved as presented. You weren't here? Okay, so we'll get Dan to second that.
Yeah, as amended.
So, so as amended.
Just as amended, yeah. Just
Okay.
mark amended.
So as amended. Any other discussion? All those in favor? Carried. Mayor's remarks. I have a few of those. Next week, April the 27th to March 3rd is National Volunteer Week. And a special thank you goes to so many people in this municipality. Without volunteers, a quarter of the things that get done would not get done at all. It's amazing the number of hours that get put in by volunteers. Touch the Truck event is happening at the Parham Fairgrounds on Wednesday, April the 30th from 5 to 7:30 p.m. and is organized by Councillor Gowdy. Easter Egg Drop District 3 Rec Committee on the 19th. Wild day with lots, yes. It was a big success. Definitely congratulations to everybody that was involved. And the kids, I don't know where, they say we don't have a lot of kids around, but there was a lot of kids there that day. Easter party was held at the District 4 Rec Committee, and it looks like you had a great turnout. Excellent, excellent. Community cleanup. There was many folks out again volunteering to clean up around our roads. And I saw many garbage bags sitting around. So excellent job to everyone and to the roads department for picking it all up and getting it to where it needed to go. Reminder that open air burning is now restricted as of April 1st. So you cannot burn any sooner than 2 hours before sunset, and the fire must be extinguished no later than 2 hours after sunrise. And don't forget to get your burn permits, and it's fairly easy to do that online. If you're having trouble, go into the office and somebody will help you. Does anyone have anything to add? Deputy Mayor? Anyone else? Lynn?
Thank you, Madam Mayor. I just wanted to note that the Kennebec district will be doing Trash Bash on this Thursday at 9 a.m. And anybody from the Kennebec area is welcome to come out and join us. We're meeting at the Kennebec Hall. And then we'll be spreading out throughout our whole district.
Good. Okay. Nikki.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. I just have a couple of things I wanted to add. I wanted to congratulate Godfrey's Wyatt Villalta on his first NHL career win a couple of weeks ago. And the Parham Firefighters Association is having their fish fry again on May the 18th from 3 to 6. You can get your tickets online or you can buy them from any firefighter. And I wanted to add on to the thanks to the waste site employees who helped with all of the Earth Day cleanup and accepting the waste that was dropped off there as well.
Steve, any idea the number of bags? Okay. All right. All right. We have a delegation from Big Win, consideration of fees paid. Is there someone here that wants to come to the table? If not, oh, there is. Please join us. Yes. What I'll do is I'll read the motion and then with discussion, you can say what you would like and then council can talk to you as well. So the motion is moved by Dan Meeks, seconded by Lynn Clagus. Whereas an application for consent was received on September the 19th, 2023, and whereas the applicant withdrew their application on February the 5th, 2024, and whereas the applicant has requested that the fees previously paid for the withdrawn application be applied to their new application. Now, therefore, it be it resolved that council deny the request from Elizabeth Bigwin to consider the $550 already paid to be applied to a newly submitted application. Would you like to make a presentation? Push that down till it's green. Push the big button in the middle. There we go. All right.
Didn't have it in the middle. Thank you, Mayor, members of council. We would like to just speak to that issue. Thank you for allowing us the time to bring forward the request that we've made for the application of the $550 fee. And if I could, I'd like to share some background leading up to this request that may have some bearing on why we're asking this. So we are currently owners of several tracts of land in Arden, and we have taken that over in 2018. And at that time, we discovered a lot of intertwining of properties between ourselves and our neighbors. And we did bring forward one of the cases, which was very unusual, to you 2 years ago, and you were kind enough to allow us to disregard or do away with a minor variance. You allowed that we could settle the matters with that property, and we have in fact done that. We now have a property that we're dealing with that is very difficult. Our land abuts the other people's home right to the door. And so we've gone through some discussions with them. We've also gone through the process of meeting with you, your staff, who have been very helpful in learning the process. And we got some great advice, went through the steps, and then we started the process of the consent application, and we had to stop. It was very contentious, and we had people that we were dealing with that in the end decided to stop talking to us, and we had to engage lawyers. The real estate stopped talking to us. And so we had to ask that we put that consent on hold until we were in a better place to deal with it. Then the neighbors then put their property up for sale. We continue to talk with the lawyers. In the meantime, we've got the consent application in, and we decided that we were best to wait, at the advice of our legal counsel, to wait until new owners. So we have an application sitting with you, and then we had to wait until we could talk to the new owners who have been really great. they're ready to offer to purchase the parts of the land if we get to that stage of defining what land in fact it is. And you may wonder why it's taking us 2 years to get to this place. But we also had a major personal situation that took me away for 6 months to care for my critically ill son, so I haven't been able to deal with this matter until now. So we reached out to Jody for her guidance, and all of the staff have been really great about helping us with this. And they informed us that we would have to make a formal request to you, which is what this is. And at the time that we made the application, the fee was $550. We understand that the fee is now $750. And so we're asking you once again if we could apply that $550 to this current situation and either ideally leave it at $550 or we would owe the difference, which is $200. And we really hope that you would consider that, even though I'm not sure if I heard that you are not willing to consider that.
That's what's in the motion, but that doesn't mean that council will agree with that. They can change that by doing an amendment to that motion, or they could change the amount as well. Okay, any questions or discussion from council? Susan?
Through Madam Mayor, to just a question as to your understanding of whether or not the fee of $550 was refundable, because the information we have in our council package was that you had withdrawn the application in February 5th of 2024 and requested a refund, and we're told that you have to come to council. Were you aware that refunds were not refundable?
No, our understanding was that the fee would be, we would be able to make a formal request to council for the refund of that fee, that the decision could be made at your table.
Okay. So I'll rephrase the question. Were you aware that it was the municipality's policy not to refund?
No, I wasn't aware of that.
Okay, thank you.
Philip?
Thank you, Madam Mayor. Personally, I'd like to see us take the $550 and apply it towards the new application fee. I'm viewing this a bit like if we deferred an application, staff would continue to work on a deferred application to rework it, to make it work in the municipality's interest. That's how I'm looking at this request.
Okay. Anyone else? Dan?
With the purchase of the property to your neighbors, will this prolong the actual application going through as well? Like we have to wait for the property to be sold?
I think we have to wait until we're even able to offer that land to them. That's my understanding, that we can't sell the land until we can know that we can sever.
Through this application?
Yes.
I see.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Okay. Any other discussions? Duncan?
This is the first one I've seen since I've been on council. So I'm inclined to agree with the other councilor's suggestion that we use the $550 to apply it to the $750 fee in this circumstance, and hoping that we can stay within the spirit of how it was written and this doesn't become a precedent.
Okay. Susan?
Through Madam Mayor, I agree with Councillor Smith and Councillor McGregor. I see it more as a revision of an existing application rather than a withdrawal. So it would not be precedent setting in terms of withdrawal, but an ongoing application. And I think the fee is now $750, so $200 would be the additional cost.
Okay. Councillor or Deputy Mayor Everett?
Thank you, Madam Mayor. Bill is fine. I do have one question. Was the first application completely closed out? It was withdrawn, so the work that was done on the first application has to be done all over again. I think it sets a precedence and it incurs the township more cost. But I'm in a minority.
Anyone else? All right, if you want to allow this, you're going to need to do an amended motion to approve the application of the $550. Do we have a mover and a seconder to do that? Moved by Lynn, seconded by Philip. Do you want to write up a little motion? We'll vote on the amendment first and then on the initial motion, which was to deny. Here, do you want?
First one's I've got it right here.
Oh, okay. A move by Lynn and seconded by Philip. You could just sit there and wait to hear what the final decision is. It sounds like it will be good to get some things organized with the property. Yes.
This is the last property that we need to sort this out.
Good. Oh,
I was just saying that I'm glad we can sort this one out because the properties were originally just sort of given by our grandfather to people. And he said, just go and build there and live there. And we needed to make it all legal. And with this process, now this is the last one and it'll be done. So thank you so much.
okay. So the motion is moved by Lynn Clegg, seconded by Philip Smith, that the Big Win consideration of fees paid in the amount of $550 be applied to their new application. Any further discussion? All those in favor? Carried. And now, motion to deny the request from Elizabeth Bigwin to consider the $550 already paid to be applied to the newly submitted application. All those in favor? Pardon? To deny. Okay. Opposed? Defeated. All right, there you go. You're welcome. Now we have a presentation by Meredith Peters on the strong mayor powers. Welcome, Meredith. Just push that button till it's green and welcome to the table.
Is it? Okay, there we go. Okay. Good evening, Madam Mayor and Council. I'm pleased and grateful for the opportunity to be speaking in front of you all today regarding our township's implementation of the Strong Mayor Powers mandate. Before I begin my remarks, I wanted to thank all of you for being open to discussion from members of the public like myself. It is such participation and discussion found in democracy that makes our township develop, seek and adapt to change, listen to its constituents, and work towards meaningful progress. With this, I'll take a brief moment to formally introduce myself. My name is Meredith Peters. I'm 18 years old and have lived in Central Frontenac for most of my life. I'm currently pursuing a Bachelor of Arts specialization in political studies alongside my Bachelor of Education at Queen's University. Despite not yet having had the opportunity to vote in a municipal election, I strongly believe that my involvement in our community and engagement with our council and staff has influenced my ability to share a few thoughts regarding my interpretation of the strong mayor powers that are being implemented across the province and how these powers may take shape in our local politics. May 1st, 2025 will mark the date that an additional 169 municipalities across the province of Ontario will receive strong mayor powers. This number includes the Township of Central Frontenac and builds upon an existing 47 municipalities that have been afforded such powers. This is a given that, unfortunately, based upon legislation and direction from the provincial government, cannot be successfully avoided. As we cannot entirely avoid the provincial government giving our township such powers, we must, as a community and council, begin to explore alternatives or ways of usage that do not result in clear abuses of power or misdirection. As seen in the special meeting of council held on April 15th, many of these efforts have already taken place. With these efforts in mind, I have a few thoughts of my own that I'd like to bring to your attention. Firstly, it is my hope that mayors do not seek to implement these powers in any individual manner that lacks effective discussion, even if they disagree with the entirety or a portion of a certain bylaw. For mayors to use their strong mayor powers to essentially veto any decision they do not directly agree with poses a stark violation of democracy, which would have devastating impacts upon our township's council and the communities it represents. Furthermore, the veto process itself is lengthy, and initiating this process for bylaws may result in drawn-out processes that serve as a detriment to achieving real, substantial progress in our community. As I'm sure you're all aware, council can choose to override a mayor's veto within a 21-day period of written notice of the veto. The veto itself can also be delivered from the mayor in a lengthy period of 14 days. This would pose the risk of continually placing members of council and the mayor in a constant period of stagnation and potentially lead to a lack of progress on the issues facing our township and its constituents. It is also relevant to mention the impact of these powers upon the representation of our communities. Yes, it is a fact that mayoral candidates are elected from constituents from all 4 districts. However, councillors are seated at this table for the reasoning of being able to represent their communities on a personal, direct level. Using strong mayor powers would demonstrate an impediment of the democratic rights of community members to accurately have their elected representatives advocate for and voice their specific interests at the table. Council is not meant to be a place where a single individual can control and manipulate decision-making processes. It is meant to be a place where ideas and comments from all 4 districts are discussed and decided upon in a democratic, well-rounded manner, not from a single veto from one person. Strong mayor powers would reinforce long-lasting divisions on council and impede progress within our communities. Rather than working for the betterment of our residents, council would become a ground for gross abuses of power rather than development. This is more than just an issue of addressing provincial priorities through veto power. The powers also become relevant for the structuring of our township and its operations. In terms of structure, I'd like to remind you all of the issue on the ballot in the 2022 election regarding the reduction of council size from 9 to 5 members. When this issue was raised around the table and within our communities, our response was that a reduction in the size of council would limit representation and discussion from community members. Choosing to use strong mayor powers and limit decision-making to our mayor for years to come would pose the same risks as reducing the size of council. When we limit who's able to share opinions and have these opinions acted upon around the table, we devalue the voices and perspectives that have served our community well for years. For years, our system across the province has been formulated upon the premise that our mayor is a leader among equals, someone who possesses some authority, but the main purpose of our mayor is to be a consensus builder. For years to come, how can our council continue to be constructive and work towards progress if this consensus is breached by the use of strong mayor powers from our mayor? We may make this decision with the present council in mind, but how will this take shape in the future? With the scope of the recent updates to which single and lower tier municipalities are granted strong mayor powers, there are a variety of circumstances from other areas that I'd also like to bring to your attention as examples. Throughout our province, we've seen countless councils and their heads of council specify that they view this extension as a significant overreach, asking not to be included or planning for potential alternatives. For instance, close to home, we saw the same with areas throughout Lanark County. Perth, Rideau Lakes, Lanark Highlands, and countless other areas across the province have viewed these powers as detrimental to their communities and decided to act accordingly. The use of strong mayor powers also jeopardizes the security of the CAO position. For instance, in Aurelia, their mayor appointed a CAO in March. Then days before he was set to start his new role, Aurelia's mayor used his strong mayor powers to suddenly reverse his decision and hire the city's current CAO instead. One of the main premises or advantages of strong mayor powers that the provincial government emphasizes is the acceleration of government decisions within the priorities set out by the province. But where can we draw the line between acceleration and impeding upon a just, fair, democratic process? We need these powers to be redistributed amongst members of council in order to maintain the democratic process that we've seen and benefited from for countless years in Central Frontenac. We need to see genuine effort made towards ensuring that these powers are not used. The use of strong mayor powers and the ability to veto bylaws as a mayor chooses would potentially pose more harm than good in virtually every situation. In a period of time where we seek to emphasize inclusivity and a fair voice for all of you at the table, is it fair or inclusive to deem discussion virtually invaluable and transfer power to a single individual? Is it fair to place further instability upon our system of municipal governance and essentially delegitimize the work of our council as a collective? To conclude, I wanted to share a few personal thoughts of my own, especially as a young person. The use of strong mayor powers feels like, to me, a gross miscalculation within the context of our township and its population. We are a small community, and reducing power to one individual in a time where we face uncertainty and require discussion and subsequent change feels like a step back into the past when we should be opening discussion and building community towards the future. Democracy means discussion. This discussion can come with disagreement, but this disagreement should not include or hold the power to halt meaningful discourse on an issue. Democracy marks an opportunity for all of us, regardless of where we come from, to successfully share ideas. I emphasize the word share when I say this. Democracy and politics, especially at the municipal level, is about the sharing of ideas rather than shutting them down. This is what strong mayor powers would do. When I go to the polls to vote in my first municipal election in 2026, what use is my voice if I know that one individual at the table has the power to control decision making? What use is my voice if I know that discussion at this table has the potential to be stopped with the vote of one person? If individuals seek to run as councillors in future elections, what use is their candidacy if a mayor consistently maintains power? We're all aware of the fact that these powers being bestowed upon our township are presumably inevitable. However, how council chooses to use these powers can be easily changed. Our mayor and council must engage in meaningful dialogue to ensure that mayors cannot be the sole decision makers on council in circumstances pertaining to the provincial priorities. Going this route would result in a potentially lengthier process and actually serve to counteract the initial goal of the strong mayor powers. Our council must remain committed to ensuring that one person's decision that lacks discussion does not impact thousands of people. Our council must remain committed to the future of the communities that we care about. I hope that these comments guide your future discussion and that my input as a young voter is not merely dismissed, but considered in discussions to come. Thank you.
Thank you very, very much. That was excellent. And I think that is pretty much what we all feel is why we got these powers and how we deal with them. And that was just excellent. I think you have a job around this table in the years to come.
Through you, Madam Mayor, thank you. I appreciate that.
Questions or comments? Duncan?
Very well said. Very well said.
Nikki?
Thank you, Madam Mayor. Meredith, you inspire me. I wish that when I was 18, I felt as strongly about things as you do. Your voice is very powerful, as you said, and we need to start listening to people at your age and get them more involved in what's going on, because we hope to keep you here. You said you're going to school, but I hope you're back and you settle here and grow family if you want, or just live here. I can't thank you enough for coming. What you said is so meaningful and means so much. Thank you.
Through you, Madam Mayor, to Councillors McGregor and Councillor Gowdy, thank you guys so much. Again, like I started, I just appreciate being able to be here and speak with you all. I got to finish my degrees first, but we'll see down the road for sure.
Also remember, there are better paying jobs called CAOs. This doesn't pay a lot. Thank you. Sorry. Moved by Nikki Gowdy, seconded by Philip Smith. The council received the strong mayor powers presentation by Meredith Peters for information. All those in favor? Carried. Okay, public meeting now to hear comments regarding the stopping up, closing, and conveying of a road allowance as described in the reports below. So our first one is public meeting report, Hyrick and Huffman. Abby and Jody.
So there's no real formal presentation, but I'm happy to answer any questions that council may or may not have. As it states in the report, it was approved in principle prior to our report today. We did circulate to the neighboring property owners and received no public feedback at the time of writing the report and still have not.
Okay, any questions or comments from council? Seeing none? All right.
Any of the public?
Anybody in the public that would like to speak to this closing? Okay, no? All right, then we have a motion, and it is moved by Bill Everett, seconded by Duncan McGregor, that council receive input from the public meeting and the accompanying report prepared by the deputy clerk, and further that subject to the comments received at today's public meeting, the council approve the recommendation to stop up, close, and convey the unopened road allowance between concession 4 and 5 geographic township of Kennebec, being part of PIN 361720092. And further, the council authorized staff to proceed with the next steps of arranging a survey and an appraisal of the land and bringing forward a bylaw to council to stop up, close, and convey the said road allowance to the applicant as a lot addition, subject to any easements as may be required by Hydro One Networks. Said bylaw to indicate that all costs relating to the registration of the bylaw and transfer documents on title be at the property owner's expense. Any further discussion? All those in favor? Carried.
Thank you.
Thank you. All right, consent agenda. I have a motion moved by Philip and seconded by Dan that council receive items A through D for information as they are considered routine items. Any discussion? All those in favor? Carried. Deferred items, public meeting process. Due to time constraints, this item will be brought back on the May 27th, 2025 regular meeting of council. Okay. Staff reports. And our first one is fire, April council report. Hello, Chief. I'll read the motion and then we'll talk about this. Moved by Susan Irwin, seconded by Lynn Clagus, that council receive the Central Frontenac Fire Rescue Activity Report prepared by the Manager of Emergency Services / Fire Chief dated April 22, 2025. Questions or comments? Philip.
Through you, Madam Mayor. I just want to say thank you for the alert system. I think that's great. I did have a question about it's early days, but has there been an uptick in people actually subscribing for the alerts? And if you know offhand what the ongoing costs are going to be for the system?
Through you, Madam Mayor, to Councillor Smith. So yes, we've had some good response to it. As of last Wednesday, Donna's off and she had surgery. So we had about 45 register. So we have it up on the website. We've got it on Facebook, so we're trying to promote as much as we can. The cost to this was about $3,500. So what we're planning is when we have a burn ban on, every time we send it on the phones through our Fluent IMS, it's $1,800. There's no charge to that, so we're going to be saving quite a considerable amount. So given the Derico situation and other events, floodings, beaver dams, so on, we're thinking that this is going to be very effective for the public and for residents.
No, I think it's great.
Good, thank you.
Thanks, Madam Mayor. When you said $3,500, is that an annual fee or is that just an upfront fee and then nothing further?
Through Madam Mayor to Councillor Clagus, that's an annual fee. Yep.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. Chief, it's not in your report, but I was listening to South Frontenac's council meeting last week, and they approved the automatic aid agreement to continue. Will you be bringing that back to council? And from what they had said, it sounded like it's a good agreement and it's been working well.
Through Madam Mayor to Councillor Gowdy. Yes, we have, we're waiting for Kingston Dispatch to put the zones back in there in the Adams, and then yes, that's going to come back to council, and Northville as well.
Through Madam Mayor to the chief, I just want to say this was a really good example of effective government. I don't know if you were working on this ahead of time, but we had residents come forward not even 2 months ago with concerns that there was no communication. You jumped on it, you got this in here, and I think it's a great thing. So great job, and great job to all staff on this one.
Through Madam Mayor to Councillor Jones, thank you.
Okay, Dan.
Thanks, Madam Mayor. Chris, in your first aid training, is it possible that Public Works or office staff get involved in that, or are they already involved?
Through the Mayor to Councillor Meeks. Yes, so we plan on doing everybody through that program. So my deputy chief is setting that up, and he's also chair of the Health and Safety Committee, so he's looking after that.
Great.
Mm-hmm.
Thanks.
All right. If there's no other questions or comments, all those in favor of the motion? Carried. Right, tiered response report. The council approved the revised medical tiered response agreement between the Township of Central Frontenac and the Frontenac County Emergency Medical Services dated April 22nd, 2025, and that council considered the adoption of bylaw 2025-18, a bylaw to authorize the execution of the tiered response agreement between the Corporation of the Township of Central Frontenac and the Frontenac County Paramedic Service later in the meeting. And further, the council authorized the mayor and CO clerk to execute the agreement following the passage of the bylaw. And that's moved by Philip Smith, seconded by Duncan McGregor. Discussion. Nikki.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. Chief, I noticed in the bylaw and the agreement that the paramedics are going to help restock hopefully help restock any supplies that are used. Congratulations. Thank you so much. If you did it or who did it, but thank you. And it's a great addition to the system.
Through Madam Mayor, yes, thank you. That was a big point that was made at the meeting when we discussed the agreement, for sure. Yeah.
And if it doesn't happen, we'll keep reminding them and showing them the agreement.
Thank you. Yes, yeah.
Okay. No other questions or comments? All those in favor? Carried. Okay. Medical Priority Dispatch System. Moved by Dan Meek, seconded by Nikki Gowdy. The council received the Transition to Medical Priority Dispatch System, MPDS report prepared by the Manager of Emergency Services / Fire Chief dated April 22nd, 2025. That's moved by Dan and seconded by Nikki. Discussion. Seems to be working already. Nikki.
Thank you. My question is, do you anticipate an increase or a decrease with our calls and wait times with ambulances now that every call's rated via the color system?
Through Madam Mayor to Councillor Gowdy. So it's early in the process when it came into effect in February, but we're still running some minimal calls. Like this morning, we have one at 5 o'clock this morning for abdominal pains. We're seeing more of that coming back. So I'm not sure exactly how, maybe it's staffing levels with the paramedics or whatever, but this program has really been built around the city itself, Kingston, not so much the rural areas. I don't think that we can say that we're going to run less calls because of this. So it's early in the running right now, but I'm thinking we're going to be doing the same.
Duncan?
Chief, would you mind just in 2 or 3 minutes basically explain the system? Because I know we have people watching from home, and I think there's a lot of misunderstanding out there of exactly how this program works.
I'll do my best.
Thank you.
That's right. Through Madam Mayor, Councillor McGregor. So before we had code 4s and so on, and the medical response was, we would get called out if it was a code 4, or if EMS was 15 minutes or longer in that criteria. Now they've gone to colors. So purple's for immediate threat to life, red's critical, orange is urgent, yellow is non-urgent, and green is non-urgent, non-serious. Like basically nobody would be running that call. The only question we have with this is that if we have a motor vehicle collision on the highway and somebody appears to be fine, and then all of a sudden they start to go, not well for whatever reason, heart attack or whatever, we have to ensure that our crews are going to be updating dispatch to get EMS on the road to that call. We don't know where they're going to be. They may not even be in the area. So this is when I say the rural areas, we seem to be, it's going to be a bit of a challenge. So we're making it critical to our crews that make sure that we update dispatch constantly of what the condition is, if there is a patient involved or whatever it is. And if they're starting to crash on us, that we have, it's a bad term, but anyway, if they're not feeling well, then we have to make sure that we give an update to dispatch. And then consequently, they would put EMS in a more rapid response. Does that work? Okay.
I worry too, sometimes when people call an ambulance, they don't want to bother people. And it's like, well, no, it's really not that bad. And it might be half an hour to get there as it is.
Yeah.
And if they put it off, it could be even longer. So
Yes, for sure.
I know they're going to be asked lots of questions when they called so that the callers can determine.
Yes.
Which
And somebody
category?
may be calling a third party that just pulled up to the scene and they don't know the condition of the patient. And they're just saying, well, I think they're all right, whatever, but they really don't know. Right. So
Yeah.
a lot of variables there for sure.
Sure. Okay. Nothing else? All those in favor of the motion? Carried. And another fire one is council to establish and regulate the bylaw. Whereas the township has enabled our current fire department known as Central Frontenac Fire and Rescue pursuant to 2018-19 bylaw 2021-68 as amended by bylaw 2022-37. And whereas the manager of emergency services / fire chief has identified a need to update the bylaw to ensure it meets current statutory and municipal needs and recommends repealing the previous bylaws and passing a new enabling regulating bylaw as per the fire master plan section 4.3. Now, therefore, be it resolved that council receive the draft bylaw attached to this report and consider passing said bylaw later in the meeting. And that's moved by Lynn and seconded by Philip. Discussion. All those in favor? Carried. All right, now we're at finances. Michael. Our first is paying the bills. We have a motion moved by Bill and seconded by Dan that council receive the accounts payable report check distribution in the amount of $1,245,168.33 as prepared by the treasurer for information. That's moved by Bill and seconded by Dan. Questions, comments? All those in favor? Carried. This is moved by Duncan and seconded by Nikki that council approve the following apportionment of assessments as recommended by impact for 2025 as applicable for the following roll numbers. And there's just two of them there. Any questions on those two? All those in favor? Carried. And this is moved by Lynn and seconded by Dan. That the Council of the Township of Central Frontenac approve the following reduction of assessment pursuant to the Municipal Act. Roll number 1039-1020-04300 for the period of February 19th, 2025 to December 31st, 2025, as reported by impact. Reason demolition, raised by fire, demolition or otherwise, 357-1DI, and roll number 1039-070-010-41501 for the period of January 31, 2025 to December 31st, 2025, as reported by impact. Reason demolition, raised by fire, demolition or otherwise, 357-1DI. And further, the council approves an adjustment of taxes to be calculated by the tax department for the related period. Any questions or comments on those two? All those in favor? Carried. And now the revenue and expense budget to date. I'll read the motion and then we can go through it. Moved by Susan and seconded by Bill, that council accept the revenue and expenditure budget to actual variances report for the period of March 31st, 2025 for information. Synopsis of how you think we're doing?
Thank you, Madam Mayor. No major concerns other than heating, which is about 15% higher than last year. The winter control is tight as we knew it would be based on the budget discussions, but no major concerns, and operations overall is slightly ahead of last year by like 1%. So pretty much in line.
Speaking of heating, do we have a tender go out for heating? I know I looked at April and the bills were $50,000 for heating for 1 month.
That could be more than one period, Madam Mayor, though. I'd have to look at that, double check. I know there was the one bill that came in for the one company that covered a month and a half at least. So I could look at that particular situation, but no, we don't normally go out for tender.
I think we should maybe ask for quotes anyway. Maybe we can get a better deal somewhere.
We do check different prices, but I'll double check with facilities.
Okay. Anything else? All right, all those in favor? Carried. Thank you. Now, plan. This is a new report, I think, isn't it?
Yes. Yes,
So,
it is.
moved by Lynn and seconded by Philip, that council received the April 2025 planning activity report as prepared by the planning service assistant for information. Discussion, questions, comments? Okay, getting off easy with the first
Easy
one.
peasy, thank
All
you.
those in favor? Carried. All right. Is Andy with us? Yes, he is.
Bylaws next.
Oh, bylaws next. So yes. Moved by Nikki, seconded by Bill, that council received the April 2025 bylaw enforcement and education activity report as prepared by the bylaw enforcement officer for information. Hello, Nick. Questions or comments? Nikki?
Thank you, Madam Mayor. Hi, Nicole. Great report. I have two questions and they're more for process or knowledge. So you've fined $7,900 in fines so far this year. Have there been any issues getting them paid?
That is on. We have worked with some residents to gain compliance. We have fluctuated some of the fines, but some of them have been added onto the taxes.
So there's where my process question, how does that work? Like, how long does it take before that happens? Like you've worked with them and they have so long to pay, and then we have a process where it goes that way?
It's over 30 days before it gets added onto the taxes, and it's just when they just ignore it.
Okay.
I do send out renewal or letters advising them that their charges are coming due, and they just don't pay it. So they are warned. They are, at this date, it's going to be added onto your taxes, and they just choose not to pay it.
And what happens? So sorry, Madam Mayor, but my last question is, what happens when it's a tenant whose dog is having the issue with? It's not the owner of the property's dog, it's the tenant's dog. So is the owner of the property still held responsible for the tenant's dog, and they would have to cover the fine?
Well, it would all depend. If you're renting a property, it is your responsibility for your tenant. Dog attacks or dog bites, that would be governed through court under the dog owner's liability. But ultimately, you're renting out your property, you are responsible. And again, before any charges or anything is given out, there are warnings, there's education parts. I talk to the tenant, I talk to the owner, I give suggestions on how to stop the barking or running at large. It's just as easy as tying it up. You're welcome.
Okay. If there's no other questions or comments, all those in favor? Carried. Thank you, Nikki. Next, we have a motion moved by Nikki and seconded by Dan that council received the April 2025 administration activity report as presented by the Chief Administrative Officer Clerk for information. That's you, Kathy.
Yes.
Any questions or comments? Philip, and then Nikki.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. One of the items in there is talking about the new diligent software using for the agenda process. It talks about council and staff training. So I'm hoping at some point either staff is going to train council or the company is going to train council on.
I'm
proper
glad I'm
use.
not the only one.
I think I'm pretty tech savvy, but it threw me for a loop, this package. So
Yeah, Abby will speak to that because she's been, between her and Jody both have, but she'll be the one that can go around and do, because she has to give me some training too.
Through you, Madam Mayor. So we did have a staff training, I believe it was last week. Certainly if council wishes to have training, I can certainly send out like a doodle poll to gauge interest and availability. But I'm happy to do a one-on-one with anyone or a group training, whatever works best for council.
Is that something we could do by Zoom? Or is it better to do it hands-on?
We can do it virtually or in person, whatever is most favorable.
Probably maybe 15 minutes before a council meeting. If we wanted to come in early and do some training, 15 minutes would cover it because we're very quick learners.
Absolutely.
Okay, so we'll plan that because I'm with you. I played around with it today, but I still didn't really know what I was doing. Susan.
Through Madam Mayor to Kathy, I see that we have an increase of freedom of information requests and no, you can't give me the particulars, but are there general areas where people are concerned or?
I think that Jody will speak to that because I have her looking after that in particular. She's been, I think you've had quite a few, I think different areas as well.
Yes, through you, Madam Mayor, to Councillor Irwin, we've seen an increase of bylaw inquiries through FOI requests, and we've also seen an increase of situations where there's been requests to staff and potentially council that they would like to gather details on to potentially, I'm not sure how they would say that, request a review of their files kind of thing they would like to change the answer that was given to them. Yeah. Welcome.
Okay. Nikki.
Thank you, madam. That was my question.
Oh.
So thank you.
All right. And next we have a motion. Did we vote on that?
Yes, you better.
Yes, we better vote on that. All those in favor of that motion? Carried. All right. Now we have a motion. The council approved the recommendation of the CAO clerk to designate Jody Legui. I just say Jody often, that's why. Legui, deputy clerk, as an authorized civil marriage officiant for the Township of Central Frontenac in accordance with the Ontario Marriage Act. That's moved by Philip and seconded by Duncan. So you want to marry people, do you? Questions, comments? Philip and then Nikki?
thank you, Madam Mayor. My question is around time and how much time do we think it's going to take away from the current activities we're doing, and how many marriages are we actually performing already because the CEO clerk is already designated. My thoughts were we're going through an org review and looking at services. Is this one of the services that's taking away from mandated programs that we need to actually offer?
Actually, I can answer that. In short answer is no, it's not taking a lot of staff time. There are a few that come to the office and want to have their marriage right in the office, which takes 15 minutes to do. Majority are on weekends and right now, and the reason why I'm asking that I have the authority then, and that's why we're going through this for resolution of council, to also designate the deputy clerk as well to do weddings. We have a list of 12 already that would like to be married, and those are all on weekends. So it's really not taking away, other than when the people come in and the staff fill out the application and have the marriage license ready to go.
And people who are yourself or Jody doing that on weekends, that's not paid time by the township.
That's correct. The fees are covered, that we get a portion of the fees.
Okay. All right. Okay, any more questions or comments? All those in favor? Carried. All right. There you go. You have a new job, Jody. Now we have bylaw and policy priority report, whereas council directed staff to create a list of bylaws and policies that staff were updating or developing, aiming to provide council with an overview and establish priorities. And whereas staff provided the list of bylaws and priorities to council on March 25th, 2025. And whereas council was asked to rank and provide feedback on the bylaw and policy list to the deputy clerk no later than April the 11th, 2025. And whereas 4 out of 9 members provided their feedback to staff. Now, therefore, it be it resolved that the deadline for council feedback on the list of bylaws and policies be extended to May the 9th, 2025. And that's moved by Duncan, seconded by Bill. Duncan and then Susan.
Through you, Madam Mayor, to the rest of council, does the other 5 councillors who didn't submit feedback want to submit feedback, or?
Okay, Susan.
Through Madam Mayor, and I can respond to Councillor McGregor. I appreciate the extra time. Unfortunately, between April 6th and April 11th, I was not well, not able to submit any comments. So I'd like to have that opportunity. And I know that there are other councillors who, for various reasons, were not available. So I really appreciate that extra time. Thank you.
Okay. Any other comments? Philip?
So I did submit some comments. I actually included some additional bylaws that I think would be important. They're not on the list that's attached to this report, so I'm assuming we'll get a new compiled list in the future.
That's correct. Through you, Madam Mayor, to Councillor Smith, we will be adding those into the list for you.
Okay, all right. All those in favor? Carried. All right. Now we have Safe Yards Bylaw Draft Report. The council received the updated Safe Yards Draft Bylaw for information, and that council provide the deputy clerk with comments by May 8th, 2025, and further that staff present an updated report and draft bylaw to council at the May 22nd, 2025 meeting. That's moved by Dan and seconded by Lynn. Discussion. Duncan.
Through you, Madam Mayor, first of all, I'm not sure inclusively who on staff worked on this bylaw, but you did an excellent job. I think you received the public feedback and it's shown directly in this updated draft. We're not voting on it tonight, so if we have feedback, we can present that to you separately. But the amount of public feedback you had to sort through in the past month to come up with what we've came up with here for a draft.
Yes, thank you, Councillor McGregor. Through you, Madam Mayor. I don't have the specific amount of feedback, but there was a considerable amount. I would have to say, I can take a quick look, but I would think around 200 comments were made online. I could be wrong there. Then we also received many emails directly from the public, and we did have some members actually attend the office to provide us feedback. And then, of course, many of you, most councillors also provided feedback. So it was a bit of a tedious job taking all of that and applying it to each section, but we hope that we've got a little bit more right this time.
Good. I got an email that I'll send forward to you about timing for Susan.
Through Madam Mayor, I'd just like to, first of all, acknowledge all the public input, especially that which was respectful and constructive, and most of it was. And I know that the staff has carefully considered that input, and it is demonstrated in the new draft bylaw. I think some of the concerns were that it was that the initial draft and even the subsequent draft was more heavily focused on property standards as opposed to health and safety. And this current draft demonstrates that you took the public's concerns into account, and I think you've done an excellent job of balancing concerns. Having said that, you're not going to please all of the people all of the time, but thank you to all the staff who worked on this, and a lot of thought has gone into it, and I think it reflects many of the concerns that were raised by myself and fellow councillors. But if I could have one suggestion, and that's because of my legal hat. There is the right of review. It's in section 15.3, but I wonder if you could put a heading that says review requests or appeals, so, just so that it stands out. That's my one suggestion. Just, I know we don't want people objecting, but it's good to have that highlighted for folks. Thank you.
And again, I want to thank all the staff for all that they've done. And I want to thank the public for submitting their comments. But I think, again, to remind people that staff are not the ones to be blamed for anything. We around this table are the ones that make the decisions. So we're the ones, if you don't like something, let us know. And we're the ones that can change it, not staff. Okay, all those in favor of the motion? Carried. Next, we have the organizational review contract report. Whereas council approved funding for an organizational and service delivery review as part of the 2025 budget process, and whereas a request for proposal was issued on March the 6th, 2025, with a closing date of March 27, 2025, and whereas 6 proposals were received from qualified consulting firms and an evaluation team composed of the mayor, the CAO clerk, and Councillor Smith was formed to review all submitted proposals. And whereas the evaluation team is recommending that council accept the proposal from Capital Park Consulting in the amount of $33,173 before HST as the successful firm. Now, therefore, be it resolved that council approve the recommendation of the evaluation team and accept the proposal from Capital Park Consulting. And further, the council authorize the CAO clerk to engage Capital Park Consulting to commence the organizational and service delivery review. That's moved by Bill and seconded by Duncan. Discussion. Lynn.
Thanks, Madam Mayor. I guess I'm looking at the 6 different quotations that we have and the total amounts, and it's dramatically less, the one that we're looking at, compared to the other 5 numbers. And I'm just wondering if there's something that's not in this one that's in all of the other ones, and if that was a consideration when we chose. The cheapest one isn't always the best one if we're missing something, and I don't want to have to repeat this process again.
Yeah, we talked about that, and Kathy, you could maybe explain it. Capital is the one that did our strat plan, so they already know a lot about us.
Yeah, actually, and I think that's where the cost savings were. When I did speak to them, because I know that between the 3 of us had narrowed down a couple of firms. So I was doing reference checks, and I spoke to them in regards to, and they said they collected enough information when they met with council and staff dealing with the strat plan, that they're confident they've got enough to get them going. So, and then the other ones so after we discussed that a little further, the 3 of us had decided that we make that recommendation to council.
Susan.
Through Madam Mayor, I recognize that they were the firm, and I assumed that was why the lower cost, and certainly I would hope that we were satisfied with their services in doing the strategic planning exercise, and they should do a good job.
And they have one of their lead people is lots of on the ground experience, which will be helpful. Philip?
The one thing, Kathy, that I think we should have added to the report is we've asked in the RFP to identify mandatory services and discretionary services. So there'll be review of that. And one of the things I liked about Capital, they were very upfront about having a number of sessions with staff and council and interviewing all of council as well. So.
That's correct. Councillor Smith is correct, because the other ones didn't have as many meetings to meet with council one-on-one. And I think that sort of gave us a little bit more, heads up, because give the whole cross-section of council's comments as well as staff's.
Okay. All right. All those in favor? Carried. Okay, ground maintenance tender reports. This is Mr. Gould's area. The council received the ground maintenance tenders report as presented by the Manager of Public Works dated April 22, 2025 for information, and that the Public Works Manager has reviewed and evaluated the tenders and is recommending to council to award the following. Kennebec Tree and Lawn be awarded as successful bidder for Kennebec in the amount of $11,985. Netto Property Maintenance be awarded as successful bidder for Olden in the amount of $10,044.25. And Hamilton's Carpentry be awarded as successful bidder for Oso and Hinchinbrook in the amount of $28,200 and $10,250. Now therefore be it resolved that the council accept the recommendation of the Public Works Manager and authorize the Public Works Manager to issue purchase orders for the successful bidders. And further, that the mayor and CEO clerk be authorized to execute the final contracts. This is moved by Philip and seconded by Susan. Discussion. Nikki.
Thank you, Madam Mayor, and thank you, Steve, for the report and doing the work for this. In the past, we've given contracts to multiple people, and I liked in your report how you talked about giving people chances and spreading it out. I'm wondering if this might be the year to share all around so that we have, instead of giving 2 districts to one contractor, we have a 4th contractor doing one of the other districts. There's extra work added this year. We want to stay on top of it, and maybe kind of sharing the wealth might be a way to go to make sure that we do have good coverage for all districts.
Through you, Madam Mayor. Yes, this is a recommendation of like Public Works staff. We looked at it, and the facilities coordinator. This is what we thought, but I mean, I'm open if council has anything else they want to change, we can change it.
So you're talking specifically about the last one that has Hinchinbrook and Oso?
Yes, so what I'm suggesting, instead of giving one contractor the 2, maybe we award one of the 2, either Oso or Hinchinbrook, to one of the other bidders on it so that we have 4 different contractors. We're well within the budget frame. There's still room to move around. Like I know that flowers have been added this year to it, so that's a little bit of extra work. And also, I don't want to have one contractor bogged down with extra work and then be short in another area.
Were there other people that bid?
Through you, Madam Mayor, there was in Hinchinbrook, Webb's Landscaping would be the other, if we wanted to give one to each of them.
Is he local? Is he not that it matters, but never heard the name before.
Through you, Madam Mayor, I don't think he lives in Central Frontenac, no.
Sydenham? Was his price comparable?
Through you, Madam Mayor, yes, there's a couple $100 difference, I think, between him and Hamilton's.
Cheaper or more expensive? Okay. So what do you want to do? Duncan?
I'm torn because I don't think council should really be getting in the nitty gritty on this. But I do think in all of our tenders, when we have these maintenance, that we should have some way to reward excellent work. So when we've had a couple contractors on here that have done a fantastic job and they have the contracts already, I think it's worth rewarding that. I'm not sure how we do it, but that's just my only comment.
Rewarding if the price is right.
With rewarding within reason, yes.
Yeah. Okay. If there's no other, Dan?
Thanks, Madam Mayor. Cemetery, does that include that or is that totally different? That's
Not-
totally
not the
different bid.
cemetery.
Okay,
This is recreation, right?
so there's still other grass cutting bids, right?
There will be.
Yes. Nikki?
Thank you, Madam Mayor. When will the cemetery tenders be coming out? Because the two busiest days of the year are Mother's Day and Father's Day, and the grass is getting green today, and I'm worried that we won't have coverage for Mother's Day.
It's too cold to grow.
Well, we're hoping soon. It's just that we've been backed up with a lot of other work. And so I think Jody, we were talking about getting them ready right shortly. Because they have to split it. We have to split the grounds maintenance compared to the the digging. and
Cemetery.
stuff. Mhm.
Okay. The motion before us. All those in favor? Opposed? Carried. All right. That is it for you, Mr. Steve. And I just want you to know the grader is partway down my road, but it's got further to go. There are more potholes over the hills. Okay, there's no committee reports or other reports, no communications for action, so we're at bylaw agreements. Moved by Susan and seconded by Nikki that bylaw 2025-18 being a bylaw to authorize a tiered response agreement between the Corporation of the Township of Central Frontenac and Frontenac County Paramedic Services be read a first, second, and third time and finally passed this 22nd day of April 2025. Discussion? All those in favor? Carried. Moved by Bill and seconded by Nikki that bylaw 2025-19 being a bylaw to establish and regulate a fire department for the Township of Central Frontenac be read a first, second, and third time and finally passed this 22nd day of April 2025. Discussion? All those in favor? Carried. Any notice of motion?
No, there are not.
Any giving notice of motions?
No, there is not.
New or other business?
No, there is not, Madam Mayor.
Nikki's got her hand up.
I want to apologize. I made a mistake. I said the wrong twin's name at the beginning. It's Matt Villalta who plays in the NHL, not his brother Wyatt. So I apologize to the family.
Muriel will be talking to you.
Yeah, I know.
They are twins though, right? It's probably not the first time they've had their names mixed up, eh? All right, next we have a closed session and that will be the end of our agenda. So motion moved by Nikki and seconded by Dan that council resolve into closed session pursuant to section 239(2) of the Municipal Act to discuss a proposed or pending acquisition or disposition of land by the municipality or local board, section 239(2)(c). All those in favor? Carried. All right, we'll take a little stretch and then give people a chance to leave and, oh.